everyone, I'm Caroline Zakarian and I work in the Office of Civics and Community Services here at the Los Angeles Public Library. Welcome to Financial Literacy Month. Today's program is called Government Imposter Scams and is brought to you by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission and the Los Angeles Public Library. Today, Taylor Foy from the CFTC will be talking about how criminals are scamming money from victims by pretending to be federal agents and discuss how to spot these scams. We will have a brief Q&A after the presentation, so please send us your questions throughout the program. Take it away, Taylor.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I appreciate you having the CFTC on today to discuss these scams that we're seeing more and more. And so I'm happy to describe what we're seeing and answer some questions. Just to kick things off, our standard disclaimer, the views that I share today are not necessarily the views of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission or that of the CFTC staff. Talk a little bit about the CFTC and what we cover. The CFTC has operated for just over 50 years, and traditionally we oversee the derivatives markets for things like agriculture, commodities, metals, energy, and currency. We were also covering cryptocurrency. That's kind of a new and emerging area that the CFTC is involved in overseeing. As these markets evolve, so has our agency, and of course, so have the scammers who seek to exploit these markets. The scammers are consistently changing their techniques, and as they do that, we are working to keep pace and inform the public about these various scams to reduce the impact that they can have and what bad actors are able to get away with. Fraud awareness is one of the best defenses against these scams. One of the bigger scams that we're seeing right now on the rise is the imposter scam. The imposter scams have consistently been the most frequently reported scam for each year since 2020. In these scams, criminals impersonate government agencies or law enforcement officials or tech support. Many government agencies, including the CFTC, have been impersonated with fake websites or individuals claiming to be associated with the government. And we work with the Justice Department and other federal partners to take down fraudulent websites and go after these bad actors to prevent them from reaching other people and defrauding them. Unfortunately, this can be kind of like a game of whack-a-mole, and it's very, very difficult for the federal government to keep pace with these bad actors. So we try to make an effort to inform the public so that you're aware of these tactics and you can be inoculated against falling victim to these various schemes. Victims are convinced to hand over cash, wealth in the form of crypto or gold bars. That's a frequent technique that we've seen from the imposter scammers. And in 2025, consumers reported over 3.5 billion in losses. That's billion with a B. So how does a scam work? It starts with an unexpected contact, somebody claiming to be from a federal government agency or law enforcement or tech support, makes an unsolicited outreach. I'm sure you've all received a text message or a phone call from somebody that you don't know that claims to have something to talk to you about that maybe you didn't ask for, somebody who you didn't share your number with. And these can be innocent misdials, or they can be the beginnings of a scam. Outreach can happen in a few different ways. It could be the text message, the phone call, maybe outreach on social media. The Federal Trade Commission reported the most of the initial contacts for imposter scams come from text messages. And then the scammers, once they make the initial contact, will begin a manipulative story where they'll allege that the victim's identity was used in a crime, or that their bank account was compromised, or maybe a family member is in trouble. We've even heard of fraudsters claiming to be from the FBI and telling their target that they'd be arrested for a crime unless they cooperated with a fake investigation, which led to the fraudsters convincing their targets to provide access to bank accounts and ultimately draining them of their life savings. So once the story has been spun, victims are pressured to liquidate funds, maybe convert their resources into alternative assets like gold bars or cryptocurrency, withdraw money, and even give them to a courier. These scams are very sophisticated, and the scammers can be very patient. They can take weeks or months or even years to build trust with their targets. They may use stolen data or publicly available information like your social media posts to appear like they know you, like they know information about you, giving themselves a false perception of credibility when they are trying to manipulate you. I just mentioned the use of couriers is sometimes deployed to collect the money. We've seen an increase in the use of couriers to pick up physical assets like gold bars or cash. Criminals will send a courier to pick up cash, and they may use a technique like a code word or a password or something like that to share with the victim, which makes them sound official, but it also helps them know for certain that the person that they're interacting with, when they make a face-to-face contact, that it's the correct person that they're trying to scam. Of course, anytime you have a face-to-face contact, this is very, very risky. And it also doesn't generate the paper trail that would typically accompany a bank transfer or even some crypto activity. So if you're approached with a scenario like this, do not attempt to take matters into your own hands. Contact law enforcement immediately. We'll talk through a few different common scenarios that we've seen. Popular scam scenario one is the government imposter scam. In these scenarios, criminals impersonate a government employee or government official and convince victims to safeguard their funds by putting them in, quote, government accounts. Oftentimes they will request gold bars or crypto, or they'll request that you make withdrawals from a bank account and provide cash. This is a very, very common scam technique. And what we recommend doing is, if you're contacted by somebody claiming to be from the government, verify before taking any action that they are indeed who they say they are. We recommend going to the agency that they say that they're with and looking up their contact information online and verifying whether or not their claims are real. A lot of times on your screen, you can see a little logo that appears on many government websites that indicate how you can verify that the website itself is real. So we recommend reaching out to the government agency to verify that these claims are legitimate. Oftentimes in these scenarios, you'll likely find that they are not. Next scam is the bank compromise scam. Scammers claim your account was breached, or they'll urge you to transfer funds or invest in, you guessed it, crypto or gold, to give cash to a courier, quote, for safekeeping. Again, this is most likely a scam. Best recommendation here is to look at the back of your bank card, call the number on your card to verify whether any kind of contact from somebody, unsolicited contact, is from a bona fide person at the bank or the financial institution that you're working with, and before taking any action. And remember, most banks that are any bank that's FDIC insured or a credit union through NCUA is going to insure your deposits up to $250,000. So if there is a breach, there's no need for them to reach out to you and say, we need to move your assets into a different asset class like crypto or gold for safekeeping. This next one's particularly relevant given tax day right around the corner. Scammers pose as IRS agents under this scenario, claiming you owe unpaid taxes and threatening to arrest you unless you pay immediately. Often, again, wire transfers, gold bars, or crypto. I've never heard of anybody paying their taxes with gold bars. This is most definitely a scam. You should hang up immediately if somebody calls you with this kind of scenario, or if it's an email or text message, delete it. Don't click on any links. That is a major red flag that it's a scam. If you owe money to the IRS has its official ways of communicating, sending official letters. And if you go to irs.gov, they have all kinds of resources in describing their procedures and what would be a legitimate communication from the IRS. So this next scam is actually one that my wife was targeted for just a few weeks ago. Scammers threaten that you missed a jury duty summons and that there's a warrant out for your arrest, and they demand that you pay fines to avoid arrest. Again, using sort of alternative payment methods like crypto or precious metals. Hang up immediately if you get a call on this, or same thing, emails or text messages. These are most definitely scams. If you receive a communication and you're not sure, it's always best to contact the court clerk and verify whether you do indeed have a jury duty summons. The court will be able to tell you if you do have an outstanding summons. And in this particular case, when my wife was targeted for this, she called the court and they said that's absolutely a scam. So be on the lookout for that. It's on the rise. And one thing that all of these different scam techniques have in common is that they're designed to scare the victim. Scammers often prey on the emotions, building and build trust with victims through repeated phone calls. A fake government agent might call multiple times a day and have all kinds of details about their scheme to appear credible. And scammers exploit goodwill, not intelligence. They are reaching out to people who they think are likely to want to lend a hand, likely to want to cooperate. And especially if you're getting a call from somebody claiming to be a government official, most people hear that and they want to be able to cooperate because they don't want to get on the wrong side of the government. And this is just really important to be aware that these types of scams exist, so that you know what to look out for. What are the red flags? Once we know what the techniques are, we can protect ourselves against them. So let's talk about a few real life stories that we've seen. Raymond from New York lost $280,000 buying gold bars and handing them over to couriers after being told his finances were under investigation. Carla from Illinois wired $125,000 in crypto after threats of arrest from a fake IRS agent. And Samuel from right here in California lost $115,000 after being manipulated into believing he was helping law enforcement recover stolen money. Again, these are people who are trying to cooperate, who believed that they were either in trouble or that they could lend a hand, and were manipulated into giving large quantities of money. And we've heard cases where people have been drained of their entire life savings, their retirement savings. And there's so many different techniques that these scammers use, and they're professionals. They're using more and more sophisticated technologies like AI to look and sound more legitimate. And it's very, very difficult to detect. But the techniques are generally very similar, very familiar. And once you're able to identify those red flags, then you'll be more skeptical, and you'll be able to safeguard your own savings against these sorts of attacks. So let's talk about how we can spot these scams and how we can avoid them. Remember, the government will never ask you to purchase gold or crypto or precious metals for safekeeping. The government is not a bank, so it's not going to offer an opportunity for you to give money to the government, for the government to hold for your own benefit. Always verify before taking action. Whether it's somebody claiming to be a government official or a bank, or somebody from technical support at your bank, or even some other, like a utility company. If it's an unsolicited contact, it's always best to reach out, find the contact information for that institution separately, and contact them directly to verify whether these claims are legitimate. Good place to look is the number printed on the back of your bank card. Don't trust caller ID. Numbers are easily spoofed, and you could see a number that maybe has the same area code that you have, and so you think maybe it's a local call, or it'll list a business name or an organization name so it appears legitimate, like it might say like the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Don't trust your caller ID. Always verify. Always reach out to the agency or the institution directly. And if they give you a callback number, don't use it. Always contact the agency first to get the appropriate contact number from a trusted source. What to do if you expect that you've been scammed or that you might be the target of a scam. There's a few different places you can report this. And I recommend casting a wide net. It never hurts to reach out to a broader array of resources. And we recommend that you report it to the financial institution. If it's, for example, somebody claiming to be from your bank, call your bank, let them know what's going on. They'll be able to tell you whether that's a scam. And it's also helpful for them to know that people are impersonating them so that they can take corrective action on their end to inform their customers. Also contact local law enforcement. They'll be able to provide assistance for your particular situation. And then the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3.gov, is sort of the federal government's repository for collecting data on all of these claims. So not only would the FBI be alerted and could be able to help in your particular case if you believe you're the target of a scam, but they also are able to collect all of the resources, all of the various reports of scams, so that we have a broader view into what techniques scammers are using, where they're using them, so that we can better inform the public and develop methods to combat these scams. You can also report scams on commodities to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission at cftc.gov/complaint. And we recommend that whenever you believe you're the target of a scam, to gather as much information you can so that you can provide that to the authorities. That includes contact names, how they communicated with you, if they provided wire instructions, or if they claim to be a registered dealer of, say, gold bars or something like that, or crypto. And if there's information on courier details, like descriptions, license plate numbers, things like that. It's very important to collect as much information as you can so that you can pass it along to the authorities. And another important point, don't be embarrassed to report a scam. Scams can affect everybody, all walks of life. Scammers are very sophisticated, and this is a professional business for them. And they've fine-tuned their techniques to appear as legitimate as possible. So anybody can be targeted. So it's important to stay alert and stay safe. Government imposters and courier scams are on the rise, targeting vulnerable Americans. And it's important to communicate, not only for you to be aware of what these techniques are, these methods to defraud you, but also be on the lookout for your friends and your family. Make sure that they're aware of these techniques as well, and you can help them stay vigilant and be on the lookout for other people who may also be targeted by these frauds. The CFTC offers a number of anti-fraud resources to help educate the public on a variety of scams. And what we're seeing, we update this page regularly as we see different scams sort of pop up. It's cftc.gov/learn and protect. And on our web pages, we offer a number of resources, including videos and advisories, downloadable materials, and we provide resources in a couple different languages, including Spanish and Chinese. And of course, there's an opportunity to sign up for an email newsletter to be informed of what we're seeing sort of in real time. And it's important to be informed, to protect yourself as these scams continue to evolve. So with that, I will turn it back over to Caroline.
Hello. Okay. So thank you so much, Taylor. So we're going to start the Q&A part now. So let me see if I see any questions coming in. Okay, I have one question. Is there any particular person that is susceptible to these kinds of scams?
It's a very good question. And the answer is no. Anybody can be affected by these scams. It doesn't matter your where you live, your age, your education level. Anybody can be the target. There are certain groups that we try to reach out to very frequently, including senior citizens, for a couple different reasons. One, some of the techniques and technologies being deployed are ever changing, and so it's important for us to reach communities that may not be as familiar with like the cutting edge technology being used. But also, seniors have spent a lifetime amassing wealth, and so they become a target of interest for scammers. But remember, this is not it does not affect it's not a scam against your intellect or your education level. It's an attack on it's to try to get you to take emotional actions or act on emotion, and rather than logic. So you could see scams that use that try to trigger like the fear of missing out, or try to trigger a feeling of camaraderie to get you thinking emotionally and not logically. And that is the goal of the scammers. And so knowing the warning signs, the red flags, it doesn't matter who you are. Once you know them, you can identify that this is potentially a scam and think logically about it and not let the emotions get the best of you.
Thank you so much. Very true. Next question. What should someone do to break the spell? So if they believe a loved one is being scammed, like what should they do? What's the next?
It's a great question. And, a lot of times people who are, we call it under the ether, they've been convinced either through fear or through some other emotional manipulation that this is indeed a bona fide, legitimate claim that they're being told by the scammers. They believe that they're, in this particular case with imposter scams, it tends to be more fear motivated. But like I said, we've seen other tactics that prey on other emotions, and so it's very difficult to get the target or the victim to. It's very difficult to convince them that they're maybe the target of a scam. So what we found is helpful is to try to help lead them to concluding that on their own, and you can do this by asking some pretty basic questions. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, how were you initially contacted? Did this come from a letter from the IRS, or was it a text message on a WhatsApp thread? Because that can be indicative of what kind of scam you may be facing, or whether it's a scam. And you could also ask them to share stories, or to tell them if they're being asked to change where they're communicating, moving their communication from one platform to another, or converting their assets from, cash to gold or crypto, something like that. Also, you can share stories. Unfortunately, given the volume of scams we're seeing, there's a good amount of news articles out there describing these sorts of scenarios, and you can share those with your friend or family member who you believe is the target of a scam, and help them see that they're not alone, and there are other people who've been there too, and to try to get them to pull out of it before it's too late.
Thank you so much. That's one more question I have. How can you stay on top of the latest scam threats? What can we do?
It's a great question. And as these scams continue to evolve, they become more sophisticated. The federal government, the CFTC, our other federal partners are constantly evolving with the scammers to try to stay one step ahead of them, and we're putting out resources all the time to help inform the public of what we're seeing in real time. And so we recommend, signing up for that email newsletter, cftc.gov/learn and protect, to find out information on trending scams. You can also use the FBI, for example, has a good number of resources. Other federal agencies like the Federal Trade Commission put out information on the scams they're seeing. We recommend periodically checking out those resources. Also, AARP has a very good podcast called The Perfect Scam, where they recount various scenarios that they're seeing to help inform the public about those types of scams and how they're evolving.
Thank you, Taylor. I've written it all down, so I'm gonna go. I always get the thing on my phone. It's like potential scam, or I always, look at the number after, and I always tell my parents, like, never, if it's a phone call, it's probably a scam. Do not take, or and obviously they're gonna send a letter if it's legit. So, I'm always warning them because they're older, susceptible. So yeah, it's always good to know. Thank you so much for this presentation. If anyone missed any part of this presentation, it will be available on our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/Los Angeles Library. It'll be on there shortly. Our next streaming program is on Wednesday, April 22nd from 12 to 1 p.m. It's called Your Savings with the Los Angeles Alliance for Economic Inclusion. We also have 2 Financial Literacy Day events coming up with the Financial Planning Association. They are on this Saturday, April 18th at the Central Library, and Saturday, April 25th at the Palms Rancho Park Branch Library. During these events, you can make one-on-one appointments for free private consultations with certified financial planners. So for more information on all of this, including to go to make an appointment for Financial Literacy Day, our website is up there, lepl.org/Financial Literacy Month. Thank you, everyone, again, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.